Welcome back to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I am your host, Willie Bragg. It's been a minute, so I figure I'd come on back to talk to each and every one of you tonight. So hope that your Saturday night's going well. If you're not out partying, at least you get to hang out with some of us online that do online commentary on Saturday night. So welcome back today. You can find me on my videos on YouTube and Twitch, and I'm also doing it on Rumble, but I'm working the bugs out of it. I have 2 videos that I tried streaming earlier this week that didn't go on Rumble the way I planned to. It's going on Rumble when I find the time. And same goes with this video. I just didn't have time to put it on Rumble, but it will be put on Rumble as well. I'm just still trying to work the bugs out of it. But I am actually streaming on Rumble, and you can find me on Rumble as well these days. So I've actually got some video content there as well. So, and you can start following me there as well. So I hope every one of y'all are doing well. Tonight, we're going to talk about, I'm a little bit behind, but I do think we need to talk about Jason Aldean's Try That in a Small Town. And we need to talk about Oliver Anthony's song, Men North of Richmond, because there's various ways to look at these two songs, and from the perspective of those of us who are on the political left. And some people will say we're not supposed to make things a left-right issue, and maybe we're not supposed to, but we're kind of forced to. We're kind of forced to, between the shit libs and the actual toxic element of the right. We're kind of have to be forced to make it a left-right issue. And I tried to carve a niche on the left, or find an intelligent way on the left to the best of my ability. To do so, and to try to make sense out of this whole darn crazy world we live in. So what I want to do is I want to talk about let's talk about Oliver Anthony first. So that's what we need to talk about, because almost overnight, he just came out of the woodwork, and I didn't know who Anthony Oliver was 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Never heard of the guy. And all of a sudden, I go on Twitter and I see this guy with his pedal guitar, this steel guitar, with the shaggy red beard, and singing about what is perceived as a working class song, but some people find a few lines on the song, and then they're like, well, that ruins it, what have you. So, and then there are people on the other side that want to claim it as one of their own. And there's been a debate whether is this a working class song of the left, or is this just one of those songs on the right that's on the level of Try That in a Small Town, which is arguably a right-wing song. Now, I don't like to fuse politics and music, but, people do find politics and entertainment in fusing together. It's not really a positive thing to do, but people do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and play you a little bit of what Vosh had to say, and you can probably only guess what he had to say about it. And I'm going to give you my take on what I think what Vosh has say about that song is. Let me find it real quick. Right there it is. So here it is for those of us that have to listen to Vosh. It's not like I want to. Here he is discussing it. So let me get that screen large enough. So why can't I get that screen large enough? Anyway, okay, that's working. Okay. Here's Vosh talking about.
You guys hear about this crazy Redbeard guy? This guy. You've seen this guy? You've seen this guy. So who in chat knows what astroturfing is? Anyone know that term? This is pretty common. As we all know, the right has a lot more money than the left does on average. And because the right are, to a fault, talentless, insincere, inhuman monsters.
So far, I don't like Vosh, but so far so good. I can't argue. I can't argue or contradict that point. But let's go on.
They have a really difficult time producing cultural value that pulls people over. This is why basically all art is made, at the very least, by liberals and often by progressives, because they have souls and conservatives don't. But that doesn't mean I'm generalizing a bit. Obviously there are some conservatives with artistic talent, but it is a very, very strong bias towards the left. So that
everything he says so far, I can't disagree with. And that's the thing about Bosch. I'll make it no secret that I, as a general rule, I am not a fan of Bosch. I generally don't like his takes on most matters. Occasionally he may hit the nail on the head, but most times he's one of those bread tube types, vote blue no matter who types. And I kind of think I'm not one of those that say he's a CIA plant. I don't. I just think there's nothing to that conspiracy theory, but I do think that he is controlled opposition in a way. The DNC do pay him, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I think that there are those that will pay people like a Bosch to my opinion only. It's a speculation, just an observation, that would go and pay a lot of money so he can kind of keep his radicals in line and keep them well behaved. And that's what I really do believe. Whether it's true or not, I really believe, if it isn't true, it's one hell of a coincidence. Let me put it that way.
That means that if conservatives want to assert any kind of cultural influence, they usually have to do it through astroturfing. That's basically when you substitute authentic grassroots support for any piece of art or anything really with money from the top, and you pretend that it's just this big wave. So this guy out of nowhere just popped into existence and has been promoted by basically every far-right account on Twitter and conservatives broadly. This is because there were prior deals established. There was money traded behind the scenes. This was not just a random singer. This is an industry plant. It's not exactly new, and conservatives aren't the only ones who do it. But
I really don't know the details. I think that's speculation still at this point. But then again, I haven't done a whole lot of deep research into Oliver Anthony.
Wanted to take a look at this song because it's led to some discourse. Okay, so what do we know about this guy apart from the fact that he's got a big red beard?
Okay, I got to not do that because I don't want to get in trouble with the copyright. So we're going to scroll a little bit ahead. So there's a little more to what he has to say. So I don't want to get in trouble. I got in trouble last time. Okay, so we're going to jump ahead.
Sorry to control us, which is funny because the Civil War was fought over the men south of Richmond literally wanting to control people, own people.
Oh yeah,
to no end. Because
oh yeah, that part. That was the part I wanted to talk about. Hold on a second. Let me scroll it back a little bit. I just don't want to hear the song because the song is fine. I just don't want to. I don't want to get in trouble with the song being played. Copyright,
Sorry that I have to be the one to say him. Can't be his pearly voice, again, copyright. That's how it is. I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home, drown my troubles away. All right, classic stuff, not exactly new or innovative as country music or, in fact, music goes. It's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me and people like you. Wish I could wake up and it not be true, but it is, oh, it is. Living in the new world with an old soul. All right, cringe, right? But anyway, these rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just want to have total control. Want to know what you think, want to know what you do, and they don't think you know, but I know that you do, because your dollar ain't shit and it's taxed to no end because of the rich men north of Richmond. Richmond was the Confederate capital. This is Confederate apology or Confederate, I don't know, eulogizing. It's
okay. When it comes to the whole Confederate, the Civil War thing, my position when it comes to like memorials and things of that nature throughout the country, and I take a middle of the road stance. I don't believe in sitting there just like taking a statue and just like blowing it up or what have you, but put it in a fucking museum. Okay, because it's history. But I certainly don't want a Confederate soldier in the middle of a public street. Like, we got to sit there and honor that veteran, him as a veteran, because again, not that I'm the most patriotic person in the world, but the United States, the Confederate States of America did oppose the U.S. federal government and what they were doing. They were owning whole groups of other people, slaves. And now, granted, I know that the Civil War was not entirely about slavery. I get it. But one of the big outcomes out of the North's defeat of the Confederacy from the Civil War was that slavery was abolished, and it would take another 100 years to go one step further to have relative racial equality, which we're still striving for. Having that said, I don't think that that's what Oliver Anthony was trying to insinuate when he talks about Richmond, North of Richmond. What's North of Richmond? I live in North Carolina. Richmond is about a 3-hour drive from where I live on Highway 95. Go on Highway 95 a little over 3 hours from now, I'll be in the southern part of Richmond, driving into Richmond. I'm going to say, I'm trying to remember, and I go through there quite a bit. I would say probably about another 2.5 hours, something like that. I'm in Washington, D.C. I think it's like 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours, something like that. Anyway, getting what I'm saying is the fact that you're in Washington, D.C. It's not that far away. You're driving down 95, you're in D.C. He's talking about maybe Washington establishment politicians, and he's obviously a Southerner, so it just kind of it's kind of a folksy reference. So that's the way I'm looking at it. So I'm going to go and give Oliver Anthony a benefit of the doubt. Now, I can see maybe why Bosch wants to project, and there is, I guess you could say, there's room for debate on it, but I'm just going to assume that there's no worse intent on Oliver Anthony's part right there.
It's the Confederacy. This is those damn Yanks north of the Mason-Dixon want to control us, which is funny because the Civil War was fought over the men south of Richmond literally wanting to control people, own people.
Again, you can interpret it that way, and it's a possible way you can interpret it. I'm not going to totally dismiss it, but I think that Bosch wants to be a contrarian and to project it in there when there is actually some room to debate about it.
People. Yeah, it's exactly. It's a yearning for the good old days. But I find it particularly insincere that it literally, like, one line after the other, it's those damn Northerners, those damn Unionists want to control people. Like, it's a joke, This is one of the reasons why you have to be a little more, I guess, like, skeptical of anti-rich talking points. Because here's the truth, folks. Basically, everyone hates the rich.
In an ideal world, and if the United States Overton window wasn't so far to the right, you would be correct, Bosch. And I'm not saying everything went downhill starting with Reagan, but Reagan is at a pinpoint where it started to go downhill, where the rich were glorified. And you started to speak on behalf of the poor and the middle class, or as Nina Turner also would like to add, and I love it when she says the barely middle class. You start to go and defend the economically downtrodden. They'll start throwing socialists, communists, Marxists at you. I'm not saying that like it's a bad thing to be called these things. I'm just saying this is how the right. It doesn't take a lot to be consider these things in the United States, because the United States is so far to the right, where you got a Republican Party just so far off the mainstream to the point where they're flirting with fascism. Not every Republican, but a great many elected Republicans are, and some of the grassroots right-wing people are. So far to the right, you got the Democratic Party now that they're basically moderate. They are basically Nelson Rockefeller moderate Republicans in the 1980s era Ronald Reagan Republican Party that has a fondness for rainbow flags. And there's really not an organized left. I mean, you got a small contingent of so-called leftists in the Democratic Party that gets whipped into line and bullied by the Reaganized Democrats that are the majority of the Democratic Party. And then you got independents on the left that gets called right-wingers by corporatists. So that's what's happened. But the thing is, they got a culture where where you got this attitude that's being played around by a lot of right-wingers. Things like, well, I never heard people getting a job from a poor man. Or, you just want to go and punish the wealthy, the successful. And that's what you want to do. So, Bosch, I think that you're kind of wrong about this. Well, people hate the rich, what have you. You're supposed to hate the rich. You're supposed to hate the rich. I think there's something wrong that there are people that don't. Look at the Tea Party. You can look at all the yahoos at the Tea Party that were actually defending the billionaire class. This Kentucky Republican oligarch, Mitch McConnell, that nobody likes. But he is the epitome of what the Republican Party protects and what the right wing protects. And if you have a movement that wants to go and humble the Mitch McConnells of the world, then you're subversive. You're some kind of Bolshevik.
Like, the only people who aren't rich, who don't hate the rich, are like weirdo neoliberal fiscal policy wonks and libertarians who think they'll be rich one day. It's based
and many grassroots right-wing Republican types who are still clung on to 1993 Rush Limbaugh talking points that get their talking points today from whether it's Glenn Beck or Ben Shapiro or people like Jesse Kelly or what have you. There's a saying: the more things change, the more things remains the same. And I can see where some of this shit remains the same.
Basically human nature to hate the people above you because they're living it up and you're not. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, there's a little bit of window dressing, and that's why some of the ultra wealthy, your Dave Ramsey types, try to sound a little bit folksy, so they can have it. So where the poor and the middle class on the conservative side could have a little bit of relatability. I would much more respect the ugly wealthy class if they can just behave like crude wealthy people and be in their country clubs than to act like simple country folk as they look down on the rest of the population, which is what we have today in America.
Sure, this guy owns a large farm. Oh, of course. Well, if he wasn't rich before, he is now because of all the money that he made being AstroTurf, for sure. Everyone hates the rich. You have to know why people hate the rich. You have to understand what it is they're saying, because apparently now rich Bosch, he's referring to DC. DC is north of Richmond. Yeah.
That's exactly what I think he's referring to. Washington, D.C., establishment politicians from both parties. And if that's what he's referring to, Oliver Anthony would be correct about that.
But Richmond was the Confederate capital. D.C. was where the Union government was stationed. And
we're talking about what's going on today. He's talking about what life is like today, Bosch. Rich man north of Richmond. He's talking about the people at Washington, D.C. that controls all of us from both parties.
Richmond was where the Confederate capital was stationed. It's a Southern country song where he's talking about how he's like pining for the olden days and how the men north of the Confederate capital, the Confederacy being known as the South, so north is the... Come on, guys, this is not subtle. This is barely even a dog whistle. Richmond is still the capital of Virginia. Yes, and
Right?
it was also the capital of the Confederacy once Virginia seceded. Are we? Wait,
We are referring to Richmond in a cultural sense too, Bosch. You have to understand that. I look. I'm not trying to overly defend the guy. I got some criticisms of the song. There is criticism, valid criticism of the song.
really? Is this actually, guys? You know that the American South and the country music it produces is like full of Confederate apologia, right?
I do know that.
This isn't like a dog whistle, okay? You can literally just shit ton of Confederate flags everywhere. Songs and art and politicians who promote the Confederates. This isn't like a subtle thing or anything like that. I didn't think I'd get hung up on this point. This is a right-wing song, and he's talking about how the Richmond, okay, Richmond is the capital. It's not just that; it's the Confederacy north of that. Like, come on,
it's not the Confederacy anymore, Bosch. He could have said Atlanta. He could have said any other prominent city in what was the Confederacy at that time.
I feel like this is very straightforward. I mean, we can move on if you want. The South of Virginia hates the North of Virginia because it's so different, doesn't fit in with the South. Okay, what about the North of Virginia does the South Virginia not like? What?
Well, I could tell you that when I drive in Virginia, by the time you're in Richmond, I mean, south of Richmond does feel like the cultural South. When you're in Richmond, you feel like you're culturally up in the North. So that maybe I can get by with. I will let you continue. We got to keep getting underway.
What split do you think caused a cultural difference there, DC? And what do you think is most endemic to the disagreements between Richmond, the Confederate capital, and DC, the Union capital? What historical divide might we be pointing to? I know about the split in Virginia. This is always Confederate shit. Chat has to be baiting. This is so obvious. They've never been to the South. Yeah, I have no idea what's going on right now. This is
forward
on welfare queens. Can we get a picture of this guy? Well, the guy's not on welfare. He's being funded by conservative dark money groups. Again, like the funny thing, so I could like the first argument that comes to my mind here is the idea of a Southern country singer going after fat people is really funny to me, considering that the like mascot of the South is a fat folksy guy sitting on a wooden rocking chair on the porch of his 4,000 square foot home with like a giant cowboy hat or something. So the idea of like,
now here's where I'm going to go and agree with you, Bosch. On the very area where I did disagree with you somewhat on the reference toward the Confederacy, the welfare cheat reference is kind of racialized. Now, was he saying it to be racialized? I hope not. I really hope not. And I disagree with it, and I don't like it. I don't like it because whenever the argument about welfare is drawn up in this country, the very first thing that people think about, and I'm not talking about you, Vosh, in a negative way, but the very first thing I think about when people start talking in a very negative way about welfare is that they want to paint a black face on welfare. And welfare was not created for quote unquote black people. Are there blacks and Hispanics and other minority groups on welfare? Yes. Are there white people on welfare? Yes. Are there blacks and Hispanics who have professional jobs who are upper income or middle class? Yes. Welfare was created as a race neutral program. And so if Oliver Anthony was doing dog whistles with the welfare checks reference, I would disagree with it. And so that's where I have a problem with the song right there, the welfare checks reference. So I don't really want to hang on to Bosch too long, but sometimes Bosch, sometimes Bosch doesn't quite get it. So I disagree with the Richmond thing because I think there's wiggle room. But the welfare checks and always paint welfare with black people, I get really upset. Or this whole idea of the liberal plantation. It is insulting to black people when I hear right-wing people say, well, the liberal plantation, as if, people who are African-American don't know any better. I mean, African-Americans, whites, everybody can think for themselves. And nobody's a monolith, okay? Nobody's a monolith. When I make my argument to whomever I make about economic democracy, when you want to call it socialism, social democracy, the expanding of union rights, expanding to have a single payer healthcare system, that sort of thing. When I argue in favor of these positions, I don't do it in the name of if I talk to a black person, I'm not doing it because they're black. I'm talking to them as an individual. Same as I talk to a white person as an individual. We all have the same freaking needs in this country because the 1% hate us all. Democrats and Republicans on the top hate us all. Some of those Democrats and Republicans on the top, they may hate each other. And they may disagree with each other on abortion and on whether the transgender women should use the restroom of their choice or whether they, what have you. I mean, they'll have these disagreements and they'll hate each other on it. But what they have in common, what we don't have, is what's in their wallet right there. What's in their wallet? And they're laughing at us. They're laughing at us because they hate all of us more than they hate each other. Which is why we have this duopoly that we have in our hands. We can't have nice things in this country because we have two right-wing parties. And that's what it comes right down to. So as I said, Bosch is for all the things that he says that I can roughly agree with. Some of his takes I have to say are really just over the top and so fundamentally wrong. Now, where I will disagree with some of the people who hate on Bosch, no, I do not think he's a CIA plant. I do not think that he's a psyop to control the online left community, or what have you. I just think that's over the top. I don't think that they really paid that much important attention to us all. I think that they'll look at all of us as a fringe movement, whether it's Bosch or whether it's Jimmy Dore or whether it's whomever. It doesn't matter. They look at all of us as fringe, and everybody they don't waste their time on us. They're wasting their time on the normies out there. They may waste their time on people, maybe people who are prone to, and I would say probably on the right, who are prone to violence. They'll probably go there these days. And that's where I would agree with Matt Taibbi and softly disagree with Brianna Joy Gray when they had a discussion about the Twitter files with regard to the Twitter files and Elon Musk. Where I disagree with Matt Taibbi is that they do go after the left on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. It's Twitter. As far as I'm concerned, that X is a bird. It's a fucking bird chirping. It's not X. Fuck you, Elon Musk. All right. Now, I want to go to Jimmy Dore for a moment because I heard the Jimmy Dore take on this. And so let me go ahead and let me find the video. If it shows up, and it did. And I'm going to play you the Jimmy Dore take on this. Jimmy Dore and Kurt Metzger talked about the song. I won't play the song like I did play it earlier with Bosch because of the copyright. Oh, God, if I do anything that's going to be a copyright strike, I will get in big old trouble. So here we go. I'll play a little bit of this, give you my take on it.
So that's a great song.
It's way better than I thought it would be. I hadn't heard it.
I hadn't heard it either. I
heard country and I didn't care.
I didn't think it was.
That's like listenable country.
I didn't think it was going to be that good. It was good. But here, The Guardian says Men North of Richmond punches down. No surprise that the right wing loves it.
No, like both directionally and philosophically, he's off.
So
shame on the Guardian. And I used to love the Guardian, and they have gone downhill. And it used to be one of my favorite British papers. But anyway,
I didn't read this article. Did you read that article,
Yeah, so
Kurt?
I was just reading.
So
through
what?
it.
So I think what they're talking about
The fat welfare part.
So there's the part where he does talk about people who are 5'3" and weighs 300 pounds, and you're getting welfare checks.
Well, yeah.
That's not the problem with America. So that is a dumb lyric.
I mean, the good ratio though. One dumb lyric and a bunch of good ones.
Yeah. So I would say again, it's that is a dumb lyric. That is
the guy that
the
wrote this.
people on welfare aren't the people screwing up this country. The people, they just sent everything we spend on welfare to Ukraine in a blink of an eye.
Oh, maybe he
okay.
meant fat Ukrainians.
So maybe he was talking about fat Ukrainians. So that is that one part that is kind of this idea that you're angry at fat people on welfare. It's just they're not the one that's keeping you from a decent wage. They're not the one keeping you from health care. They're not the one from keeping you for a better life. It's your oppressors, and those people are not your oppressors. Okay.
A very good point, and that is so true. I don't feel resentful toward those on public assistance. Public assistance exists because those who are on public assistance need it. Now, I would like to see people not be on public assistance, and the best way to have it, and Cornel West says it best, that the best way to have it so where you'll have less people on welfare is to provide living wage jobs for people. You have living wage jobs for people, you're going to have less people on public assistance. It's as simple as that. But here in America, we can't do that. We got to rig the system against everybody every step of the way. So you could tell people, you're on welfare, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and fuck you. And then you don't give them a way out of it or anything like that. Don't go and offer them a way out of it other than pull yourself out by the bootstrap. And if they can't quite do it, you make fun of them and you put them down, but you don't go and you don't really do the hand up. Do the hand up in a meaningful way. Provide living wage employment. It doesn't mean that I want to get rid of the welfare system. We got to have welfare. But you also got to have opportunity. And that opportunity, you got to have an equal playing field. But some people in America, the right wing Overton window, when you talk about an equal playing field, this is what comes to people's mind. That sounds like equality of outcome. And that's the mindset of America right there. So universal health care is woke. Unionized living wage job is woke. Taxpayer funded public roads. Well, what kind of woke shit is that? A public library? That's woke. A fire department putting out a fire when there's a fire? I've never heard anything so woke in my life. Woke is anything that's vaguely left of center or just common sense. So you need to go take the right wing on with this woke nonsense that they talk about. Oh yeah, there is an obnoxious side, if you disagree with a tax policy and somebody called you a racist over that's fucking retarded. Okay. That's the kind of woke I can do without. But as I said, if it's woke to want every man and woman, child to have free health care and to have a union job and to get out of these fucking wars in the Middle East and get out of the war in the Ukraine, Russia, to get out of the war that could be pending in China, Taiwan, and get out of the war that could be pending on the African continent. If that's woke, well, God damn it, I'm woke then. I am woke as hell. And that's where I stand. But here's the thing about this whole thing. This whole thing about this wokeness and all of that, the right wing knows how to manipulate the message well, and so some people think that they're using this guy Oliver Anthony to promote their own message or what have you, when I hear Ben Shapiro trying to sit there and praise this song or whatever, do y'all really think that Ben Shapiro listens to Oliver Anthony? Seriously? I mean, do you really see? I don't know what he's like, but when he moved from California to Tennessee to want to prove to everybody that he had no problems in California, Dude had no problems in California. He moved to Tennessee because he wanted to prove a culture war point that he's going to move to where there are people like him politically and around. And he wore that little lame cowboy hat and everything. Please give me a break. Is it Ben Shapiro? Just go back to your sister's room, Abigail, and play with those fucking Barbie dolls. Seriously, that's what you want to do. I saw the meaning behind those burning the Barbie dolls in that lame video. Okay. Let me.
Those. Go ahead.
They will, maybe the government will pay for them to have Ozempic.
Maybe. So, anything else that guy said in that article, Kurt?
It's him taking that line and then like, well, maybe next time punch out. Like
he's punching up 99% of the song. That one line, the guy makes the song all about that one line.
Yeah, and by the way,
why wouldn't you make the song about every other line in that song? Why wouldn't you make the story about every other line? But he made that story about that one line because everything's a left-right. They have to divide America. And that's what this is. This is the establishment of dividing workers. And that's what that is.
Now, I'm going to have to disagree with Jimmy Dore there about everything being a left and right issue. Of course, everything is a left and right issue. And I know what you're getting at by trying to muse or erase the boundaries of left versus right. Think about this. You need to convince those on the right that it's in their economic interest to be on the left. And that's what it means. Doesn't mean they have to be vote blue no matter who. Doesn't mean that they have to go and think that Joe Biden is base because he sucks. But it also means that they're going to have to realize that Donald Trump is a con artist, and that populism by Ron DeSantis means the same old Bush, Cheney, Ronald Reagan bullshit. And the populism part is attacking Disney because they don't agree on LGBTQ issues the way that Ron DeSantis does with his anti-LGBTQ nonsense. You know, you're not always going to agree with people. I was in a union job for 20 years, United Food Commercial Workers. And let me tell you, there's a lot of conservative people in those meetings. And it was kind of annoying. It's kind of annoying having to deal with a conservative mindset. But you know what? There was a lot of areas where we did agree. And so, the union president was the only person that was, I wish that the business agents were as good as the president. They were as good as our local president. It would be a great union. But anyway, the thing about it is that we needed to agree where we agree on, and where we disagreed on wasn't even related to the workplace environment. So, that and if we can learn to do that in this country, find where we agree, stress on that, you can go and argue about areas where you don't agree later on. Now, it's better to do that than to find people that you don't agree with on 0% of anything. Because honestly, you're not going to agree with everybody on every little finite issue. You should come to listen to this program, the Willie Bragg Show. I don't come here expecting each and every one of y'all in my audience to sit there and to grasp every word that I say as if it was gospel. You came here with your own mind, and when you leave, I want you to leave here with your own mind. I want your minds open. And maybe some of y'all have something to offer that I have not conceived of either. I try to be an open-minded person. I try to be, and sometimes I fall short. But anyway, we'll let Jimmy Dore and Kurt Metzger continue.
So that guy standing up for workers. What?
I forgot. There's the other part I meant to tell you from reading it. So it's not just that line, which I agree it's a dumb line. He goes, still a reference to politicians looking out for minors on an island somewhere, apparently a reference to Epstein's ties to elite figures, has prompted speculation that Anthony could be nodding to QAnon, a far-right conspiracy theory. So there's not
anybody who sticks up for workers has got to be some kind of conspiracy right-wing nut. If you stand up and you tell the truth about the establishment and you push back against their economic war on workers, you're going to be called, just like you were called a right-winger if you said that the virus that caused COVID came from a lab that Dr. Fauci was funding the research in. You were called a white supremacist. That's all they have left now is the establishment media, which is owned by a handful of billionaires, wants us to hate each other. And every story they report, they do it like this. What do you want to say, Kurt?
I forgot. Then he goes on to promote a conspiracy about this guy that he's an industry plant. He he goes, it's weird. Like people are offering to give him a record deal. You know, he's got a good voice. That's clearly why he goes, which the right-wing country singer John Rich apparently agreed to produce. Announcing musician had just joined Twitter. It does feel remarkable that Anthony decided to share his life story on YouTube a day before releasing a video that went viral. Yes, viral videos are remarkable. That's why corporations try to duplicate them.
That's right. And you can't duplicate them.
But Howerton denies any claims of astroturfing in which powerful figures orchestrate supposed grassroots campaigns.
Okay, I want to talk about the Epstein reference and all of that. And I hate that has to be a partisan culture war thing. Think about it this. I don't believe in QAnon. I think QAnon is bullshit. Because the way the QAnon wants to act like they want to act like anybody who's a liberal either are participating in devil worship and pedophilia and all that shit, or if they're not doing that, they're condoning it. Just kind of like it's really just like they've taken the 1993 Rush Limbaugh talking point of red team versus blue team and take it to that absurd level. So I refute QAnon. Do I think there is a pedophile problem in this country? Yes, and it's evil, and all that. I don't condone it one bit, but it's not one particular party or ideology that does it. A person that does it is terrible. And it's done so to also vilify the LGBTQ community. They're not going to do this any more than a straight person would do this, and it doesn't matter if it's a straight person or an LGBTQ person. And every LGBTQ person that I've ever known of don't have anything to do with this kind of crap. So, that's another thing I want to point that out. So, so it just makes me mad how they want to sit there and vilify, and this is their way to try to keep the culture war going. And there's a sense of contrarianism that exists on both sides of the political spectrum. And let me go and do this real quick here. And there is a contrarianism that exists on both sides of the political spectrum between left and right. So, like, for example, for many years, there's been, sometimes, and probably more times than not, when left wing and liberals of that sort would call conservatives or the right racist. Probably more times than not, it may have been correct. There's a few times where it was a little out of line, but they got to the point where some of them got tired of being called racist. Some of them came out of their racist closet, and now they're pretty damn open about it. Well, in a good way, the right wing kept saying the same thing about Democrats and liberals. Oh, y'all a bunch of socialists. You're a bunch of socialists. You're a bunch of socialists. You're a bunch of socialists. Well, when Bernie Sanders came along, and this is in a good way, some of them be like, yeah, motherfucker, some of us are socialists. What about it? So in that particular regard, that was a good thing. However, I do get concerned that maybe there are some progressives that may be contrarian, and they'll be like, they'll be like dismissive of this, and they're not going to condemn it because they don't want to be looked upon or as kowtowing too much to the right. And this is not a right-left issue. Pedophilia is wrong and evil. But let's just accept that, okay? Let's just accept that, and don't allow the right wing to win. When you do that, don't allow the right wing to win that public relations argument. Do not give it to them as a gift that keeps giving for them, because that's exactly what they want. So I know how these people think. So anyway, overall, Oliver Anthony's song is talk about the bullshit wages and just basically life, just basically sucking for all Americans. And it's this neoliberalism bullshit. Well, I was watching Tommy Nation Politics, and Tommy was interviewing Warren from Extrabulia, and he was saying, shit liberty is the reason why we had Donald Trump. Now, if the shit libs would just become good liberals and give up being shit libs, we probably wouldn't have to deal with a Donald Trump in our lives. And he had a very good point about that. So I just thought about if I would have known that, I would have added that little clip in there. But oh well. But if Tommy's listening, I did mention that in there as a reference. So all right. So due dissidents. We're going to talk about Jason Aldean's "Drive That in the Small Town." I'll play you a little bit of what Keaton and Russell had to say about this. And this is probably my main to go online left show right now. I probably watch the show more, probably watch Due Dissidents more than any show around right now at this point. They're great. I think if the left listened to Keaton and Russell, I think that the left will, if we can just get our shit straight, the left would be in better shape because they have a pretty brilliant analysis on a lot of things. So, and I've had them as a guest on my show too, so I'm proud of that as well. Okay, I'll let Keaton and Russell take it away.
All right, so this story caught my eye today. So Jason Aldean, country music star, had his video pulled by Country Music Television for offensive content, although they didn't say why they pulled it, but presumably. The video released in May. See, they got that wrong, actually. The New York Times is wrong. This is disinformation. The song...
Working for the Kremlin.
They're working for the Kremlin. The song was released in May.
Told you I do not like the country music.
That's why this blew up now, because they just dropped the video on Friday, I think. It was so the video released Friday. I'm gonna put a little red line through that. Was shot in front of the Maury County Courthouse in Columbia, Tennessee, a site known for the 1927 mob lynching of Henry Coate, an 18-year-old black man, and is interspersed with violent news footage, including protests. Just jumping ahead, we don't need to describe the video, we'll talk about it. State Representative Justin Jones of Tennessee, a Democrat, condemned the song on Twitter, describing it as a heinous song calling for racist violence that promoted a shameful vision of gun extremism and vigilantism. On Tuesday, CMT confirmed by email that it stopped airing the video on Monday, but did not offer any explanation. And so he sent out a tweet. Do you have a screenshot of that, or should I show it from here?
Yeah, just show it from there. It's right there.
In the past 24 hours, I've been accused of releasing a pro-lynching song. A song that's been out since May. And I was subject to the comparison that I was not too pleased with the nationwide BLM protests. These references are not only meritless, but dangerous. There is not a single lyric in the song that references race or points to it. We'll get into that. And there isn't a single video clip that isn't real news footage. And while I can try and respect others to have their own interpretation of a song with music, this one goes too far. As so many pointed out, okay, I'm not going to play this one for last. He was present at that shooting in Vegas. I was present at Route 91, where so many lost their lives, and our community recently suffered another heartbreaking tragedy. No one, including me, wants to continue to see senseless headlines or families ripped apart. Try that in a small town for me refers to the feeling of a community that I had growing up, where we took care of our neighbors regardless of differences of background or belief.
Yeah, by threatening to execute anyone who crosses you somehow, right? Yeah. I mean,
now, I want to say something about that. I'm going to give you my personal take on this. I grew up in a small town in northeastern North Carolina. So there's a relatability in a negative way to this song. And I moved there in 1972. I am half Hispanic. You can't tell by looking at me. My mother is Puerto Rican. My dad is American. They met while my dad was in the military. And is, the early 1970s, there was a calming down point, I guess, in the 1970s, where everybody was sort of getting used to civil rights and equality was sort of becoming a thing. The racial tensions maybe has still been there and was still there, but it was probably getting to be slightly less, maybe. There was some improvement that was going on at the time, but the racial tensions were always still there. And you add a white-black situation, the demographics being white and black, mostly in the South at that time. And then you add the element of a Hispanic person moving into the community. And people didn't take too kindly to this family coming to this northeastern North Carolina town. This white American man with this olive-skinned woman from God knows where they say wherever she may be from. That was how they kind of look at her. So, and you know, as I said, I'm like the most white nerdy looking person as there is. You know, getting picked on in school for it. I mean, now I am proud of my Puerto Rican heritage on my mom's side of the family. I'm proud of the fact that my mother is Puerto Rican, and I love my Puerto Rican relatives, and I love everything about Puerto Rico. I love my mother's Spaniard and Basque ancestry, the Taino Indian heritage that she has all flowing through her veins. They are flowing through my veins as well. I take pride in that. I also take pride in the fact that my dad's of Scotch-Irish heritage too. And that's of his heritage and the Scottish Irish blood flowing through my veins. I am proud of that culture and heritage as well. I'm not proud of it because, you know, of it being white. I'm proud of it because of the culture it came from. Same thing on my mom's side. The white European part and the indigenous part that it came from. All that being said, in North Carolina, the white rednecks, they just thought with the Puerto Rican part, they just thought it was just like, we weren't discriminated overtly, what have you, but, you know, they just didn't take too kind. We were isolated. We didn't have any friends. We were just kind of to ourselves. And that was because we lived in a small town. We were one of the luckier ones. But when you think of the song, Try That in a Small Town, it means a lot of things when you think of this red state, blue state. And I hate the red state, blue state argument because I'll tell people that they're full of shit when they defend their blue state and defend their red state. I'll say, well, let's go have a green state. What about that? But anyhow, some red states are okay to live in. It's not because they are red states. It's just they have something about it that's okay about it. Some blue states are okay to live in for the same reason. But the point is, when they say try that in a small town, they mean things other than what it means. It means, you know, I mean, they try to make it sound like, oh, we mean just Black Lives Matter and Antifa being uppity. They also mean try union organizing in a small town, you know, or you know, try hanging that pride flag off of your lawn, off of the home and you own in a small town, you know. You try that, you know, try being a decent person, try to practice tolerance in that small town. See how far it gets you. That's what it means by try that in a small town. So the way I look at that now, do I think it should be pulled down and banned and all that? Absolutely not. I am absolutely opposed to all forms of censorship. Whether it's a song called "Try That in a Small Town" by Jason Aldean, or whether it's a song, or even the controversial parts of Oliver Anthony's song, what's it called? Rich Man North of Richmond. I am opposed to censorship completely. I am a 100% free speech absolutist. But when I look at and again, and there's another aspect of Jason Aldean, and it's not even political. It's not my style when it comes to country music. If I listen to country music, it's going to be more on the old school side. You know, I'm going to be listening to something like the original Hank Williams. I'll be listening to like maybe some Johnny Cash or something that's going to Patsy Cline, something more old school. And I'm not being a snob. It's just a musical stylistic preference. I'm sure that there are modern country music that has the style of a Jason Aldean that is probably very progressive in its politics. If it is, I'm glad they're there. I don't know about it, but I'm glad they're there and everything. But am I going to boycott Jason Aldean's Try That in a Small Town? I'm going to make fun of the song. I make fun of the song to all my friends all the time, but I'm not going to go and clutch pearls over it, because to clutch pearls over Jason Aldean's Try That in a Small Town would make me no better than Kid Rock or some other right-wing person getting all crazy over Dylan Mulvaney selling Bud Ice, and that one right-wing guy in Georgia saying, "Stay away from my kids." What the fuck was Dylan Mulvaney doing in regard to kids by telling people to buy Bud Ice? Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing. They projected grooming on a commercial that had nothing to do with kids. I mean, my God, this is how these people think, the right wing and all of that. But the thing about it is, you don't like Try That in a Small Town, or you don't like Oliver Anthony's Rich Man North of Richmond. This is what I'll tell critics of both songs. How, for whatever reason, that they don't like it, whether it's stylistically they don't like it, or they don't like the lyrics of the song, or what have you, or whatever reason that they may have. Well, if you don't like the song, don't listen to it. I'm not going to go. I mean, now I'm not going to go out of my way to listen to something that I don't like. There's a lot of music out there that I don't like, or there's movies out there and TV shows that I don't like. And it has nothing to do with politics, but even if it did, again, I don't have to watch it. I don't have to listen to it. Well, unfortunately, when it comes to the politics, I have to kind of listen to it a little bit, because this is kind of what I do here on this show. So I need to know what the other side is up to. And there are some people on the other side that are so fucking entertaining that I, even though I find their message cringe, it's so entertaining. Like, I was angry when social media and the entertainment industry and the whole internet gave Alex Jones the internet death penalty. They could have just taken down the videos about Sandy Hook. They didn't need to go take them completely off, because my rights to hearing him go on his rants, and I disagree with almost everything he had to say, but that used to entertain the shit out of me. That entertained the hell out of me. Just does that. I mean, I used to love listening to that. Not because I agree with Alex Jones. He was just funny to listen to. I mean, I used to just crack up listening to Alex Jones, because he was just so outrageous. And I think that Alex Jones, as disagreeable as Alex Jones, as he's always been, he's less toxic than Sean Hannity or Ben Shapiro, who comes out sounding like a normal human being. What they have to say, and I don't even think they should be banned either, but what they have to say, they're basically singing the praises of everything that Mitch McConnell wants to do in the Senate, which translates into policy in the United States, which is bad for America. That's what they want. And, that's what they want. And that's a hell of a lot worse than what, than the shenanigans that comes out of the mouth of Alex Jones, whether it's talking about turning the frogs gay or what have you, or demonic creatures, whatever he talks about at the moment. I mean, it's so freaking over the top, people. You got to just realize there's an entertainment value to things, and just recognize it for what it is. Some things are just meant for entertainment. But anyhow, so anyway, yeah, I agree, Russell and Keaton, about what he's saying. Just kind of like, what it was basically talking about. Yeah, there are some controversial aspects to Try That in a Small Town, but again, You don't have to listen to it. I don't. I listened to the song once, and that was one time too many for me. So, okay, on the chat line, and I will do the chat line real quick, and then we'll have some announcements. Stargazer Steph, how are you doing today? Okay, I know who you are. Super Man, I know who you are. Willie, Bosch isn't paid by the DNC. I beg to differ. But he's not paid by the CIA. I think the reason he's popular is because he is in tune with the internet culture, whether it's memes or what we call woke stuff. Oh, there is that too, but I think he is kind of paid to control the left, though. We can disagree agreeably. Let's see, many people on the left have a hard time getting an audience streaming. He is more than just another streamer. That's why he's popular. I don't agree with him all the time either. Look, I can tell you one time where I actually, recently I did agree with Bosch, and that was over the shenanigans with Anna Kasparian, birthing person, over this whole thing about her getting uptight about the term birthing person. I mean, you know, and then she goes around calling him anti-trans. I'm like, come please, you know, saying she got the receipts. Yeah, he says a bunch of offensive stuff. I mean, you know, to make a point. I mean, she thought that was a real gotcha. I mean, you know, and you know, and then she's like, oh, well, he's doing it for clicks. Yeah, Anna Kasparian and Shank Uger talking about it was also for clicks too. But yeah, I understand. Let's see. Hey, Miguel, how are you doing today? Thank you, Matt John. Good show, dude. Let's see here. Oliver is an industry plant. He could just he could be just a regular liberal who has some dumb lyrics. I don't care so much about it. The fact that he needs proof he's an industry plant. Even if he was, I think that it's a message that the left should co-opt and make their own. Don't allow the right to hijack it. Don't allow the right to give a Dave Ramsey like credibility to the song, because they win is basically my point, and I should have articulated it that way earlier. Skylarp, I have not seen you in a while. I'm glad you're back. Oliver Anthony songs rub me the wrong way, not just the way he punches down on welfare recipients, and that's the problem I have with the song, by the way. We agree there, but how he decries taxes as if they are they are. I think that nobody likes paying taxes, and the problem with the taxes in this country is we are paying taxes and we're not getting anything back from it. You know, because I usually, when people say, well, Willie, what you want in this country is going to require a lot of taxes. Look how much taxes they pay in places like Sweden and Norway and Finland and places Denmark. I say, yeah, and look what they get back in return. They get a lot of goodies. We get nothing. We pay taxes, and what do we get? We get the police brutalizing us. We get a garrison state that monitor us. We get money that goes to the Ukraine instead of helping people out from Hawaii. You know, Maui, Hawaii, over there in Maui. That's the problem right there. I mean, I agree with you about the taxes, but here's the thing: we need. I'd like to get a bigger bang out of the buck that we get with our taxes. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. They love Elon Musk while they don't like money in politics. And knowing that Republicans take corporate money, they still vote Republican. And that's one thing I just, for the life of me, it's boggled my mind all these years, is how there are people who have meager incomes. Not saying voting Democrats the answer. And I used to think that voting for more Democrats or voting harder was the answer. But still, you know, even though I am angry with the Democrats, I would tell people voting Republicans is never the answer, because when they vote Republican out of frustration with the Democrats, what happens is it legitimizes the Republicans. The Democrats get the hints, and they become just a little more like the Republicans. And so I tell people, you know, I'd rather for them to not vote or vote third party, any third party. But, you know, the last option is to go and vote, pull the R out of there. The only time I will say, if you're going to vote for a Republican, I I will hope that Republican is like the ghost of Robert La Follette or something like that. One of those old pro-labor Republicans, like Senator Robert La Follette of Wisconsin, who ran as the Progressive Party candidate for president in 1924. The man that started the Progressive magazine in 1909, that sort of thing. So anyway, I ranted long enough tonight. A couple of announcements. On Friday, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and I'm going to type down the URL for it right this second. If you go ahead and subscribe to this channel, and that is youtube.com/@Braggland TV. And it's in the description box below, by the way. If you go ahead and go on this YouTube site, that's going to be the YouTube site of a new program co-hosted by myself, Willie Bragg, and Jimi Sunderland. And the name of that show is Bragglands. We're starting Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's a 2-hour show that will be on weekly, Friday, every Friday afternoon. We're going to be discussing politics. We're going to be discussing entertainment. We're going to be discussing just personal stuff, just ordinary things. It's going to be like a variety show, and it's going to, just kind of like something to wind down to every week. And we got a Twitter presence, and I will go and if you look us up on Twitter, we'll go ahead and do that right this second here. Twitter. Let me go ahead and do that. If you look us up on Twitter, same thing. Just go on Twitter and find us there as well. I'm working on the Rumble page. We have a Rumble page, but there's a little thing I have to do to get the URL working. But there is a almost functioning Rumble page for it. I got to get Twitch set up too. So be sure to look us up in doing so. And that's going to be next week, this coming Friday and everything. And you'll be able to watch it here on the Willie Bragg Show, too. We're going to be multi-streaming it on the Willie Bragg Show on all the areas I stream it on. And it will be on all her streams, too. Speaking of Jimi Sunderland, who does the graphic work for my show, please do follow her. She's on the description box below. She does the graphics for my show. Do follow her on Twitch and YouTube. Another announcement I'm going to make is that tonight, Saturday night at midnight, The Secret Show, Extra Booyah of The Secret Show. And let me go ahead and find that on YouTube right there, and I'll show that to you right now. I'll even put down the URL if I can. Give me a second here. We'll do that as soon as, when I got my ad blocker, the computer slowed down just a tad bit, but that means I got to get a new computer, and I'm going to get a new computer very soon. But at least I did take care of the situation with the audio that I was having a while back. So there you go. So Extra Booyah, you know how to look them up. So but I'll go ahead and put that down on the screen. Secret Show. And hopefully the video will show up. The thing will show up in a moment. There we go. Check out The Secret Show with Extra Booyah, Warren, and Jimmy. They will be on tonight. I was on the show last week. That was fun. I hung out with Jerry and Ed from Chicago Corner, and hung out with Jimmy and Warren. And as I said, it was a very fun time last week that we had and everything. Always a fun time. Best way to spend your Saturday nights. So there is that as well. And let's see what else. There was any other announcement I was going to make. any other announcement I was going to make? Yeah, and I'll give y'all this. I'll give y'all the URL for that show, the secret show. Okay, give me one moment here. This is the YouTube link. He's got other forums too. Extra. Oops. I don't want to misspell. I don't want to misspell stuff. There we go. Why did that not work out? Okay, well, we'll do it that way. Here we go. Extra Booyah. YouTube.com/extra Booyah. That's where you'll find it. And every Saturday night. So there is that. Also want to say thank you for showing up tonight. Willie Bragg. If you like what you heard, please press like and comment. Comment anyway if you like what you heard. Regardless, yes, press like, comment, and share, and we'll have a conversation if you comment. Also, remember to just to keep in mind to create your own platform and utilize it. And I say this as a free speech absolutist because we are the muckrakers of our time. And please follow me here on YouTube, on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and all the other forums I'm on, including Bragglands, which will be premiering soon. And always reject corporate media because they have absolutely nothing at all to offer. And until next time, I am Willie Bragg, and I've been running my mouth for quite a while. So I'm going to leave y'all with some Ken Arroyo. He does the music for my show. And y'all take care. Have a good night. See you next time.